Hey guys, Rich from Over the Fender Garage. I got my seats done, at least the front ones. I got them set in there. Take a peek at what they look like. They end up looking pretty good. They're just sitting in there for right now. I don't have carpet yet. I'm waiting for the carpet. They end up looking pretty good. I got the steering wheel off. I redid that. Camera died when I started doing it, and I didn't hear it die, so I didn't get that. But that's all been redone, revarnished. So next thing I got to do is take the collar off here, and I'll take and repaint that black. Oh yeah, that looks real good. But basically, since I'm waiting on the leather and I'm waiting on carpet, I've got to hit my punch list. So I was looking at my taillights, and this is something to trim. Fell off the taillights. That's something. These high quality parts these guys sell. This one here, it's stuck on there so little. Look at that. Anybody bought a set of these tail lights, they better check this. So this one's on there. Well, it's coming off over here. So, yep, look at that. Both of them. Probably a month or less, they probably both have fallen off driving down the road. So, got to figure out a way to attach those better. But basically, I'm down to punch list right now. I got to do that stuff. Just some of the things I wrote down that I've been figured out I have to finish. I got to bleed the brakes. Need to hook up the brake pedal, hook up the clutch pedal, bleed those out, and put on the wiper motor, put up the visors. Just a bunch of little stuff. Put the gaskets on the doors, and kind of basically just go over it, check everything out. Just about ready to take it for a drive. But that's what I'm going to do today, is just knock out some of my punch list stuff. So that's basically what I'm going to do, is get on the punch list and start punching stuff out. This is what I'm having with my clutch. I have a very short clutch pedal. I've got 1 inch marked out on here. That's how much travel you have in this cylinder. And if I push on the clutch pedal, that's as far as my clutch pedal will go. Right there. It's a very, very bad ratio. So I have to change the ratio so I have more clutch movement, because that would be very hard to drive with the clutch. That you only basically got 2.5 inches of travel. That's it. You ruin the clutch cylinder. So I need to change the ratio on it. I'm gonna go do that now. I am working on my clutch pedal right now. I stuck it up there using the stock pivot point, the old bell crank. You measure from here to here on this pedal. It's 11.5 inches. This is at 275. So using that, I've got a 4.1 ratio, which is really bad. The clutch pedal only moves about 2.5 inches. is really bad. So I need to move this up to 2 inches right there, because they want you to have a ratio between 5.1 and 6.1. That's the ratio you're going for. So when you measure from here to here, and you divide it by this amount right here. I'm coming up at 2 inches with the 5.75, which is right in between them pretty much. So I'm gonna move that down to 2 inches, and I should have a really good clutch ratio. Now I think my tape measure on here. From there to there. Move straight in. Right at 2 inches. So that should be a good ratio. Go stick it on and try it out. There is my clutch pedal with the new pivot point. This is fully depressed. The bolt that holds the rod end on is hitting the upper steering column. You have to put a little notch in that. But those are both marked. Now if I slide this back where the clutch is all the way up, I can hold them both at the same time. You see, it's probably going to be blurry. You see right there, from that mark to the front, there's exactly 1 inch of clutch travel. And I've got, oh jeez. And right now, that's going from here to here. All right, now with that mark up there, I put my tape measure on here. My clutch is at 11 1/4. If I move my clutch all the way down, it's at 5 inches. So basically I got 6 1/4 worth of clutch right now, but the bolt is hitting the top of the steering column bracket. So I need to put a little notch in there so I can get past that. So I get that little notch put in there, and I can lower the clutch pedal down to where it belongs, which sits at 9. It'll go the rest of the way to where it should sit. So one little adjustment to do more, and the clutch pedal will be all set up, and I should be able to swing it all the way to the firewall and have enough movement. All right. You can see it right there. It's hitting. So I got to put a little notch right there so that bolt can pass through it, because you can't flip it over. It would have the same thing. So you got to put a notch in there. I could take this from the old clutch off, which might just be easier. That'll move the whole thing over a tiny bit. I think that might be a choice. I'm going to try that first. I don't want to take all this stuff apart to get that out of there, because I don't think I can get a grinding wheel up there to cut it off, and I won't want to get it all over everything that's done. So I'm going to try removing this first. I think that's going to get me over far enough to get that to pass, and I can just sand off a little tiny bit of that so it doesn't get hung up on it. And I think that's a good idea. I'm going to try that first and make sure. I'm going to cut this bar off right here. It's got 2 welds on it. We just cut it off there. without cutting into the shaft. Beautiful. Kind of get here. Nothing sharp under there. There's my rod. I have this end bottomed out this way. I need to cut that much off it. So I made sure that this is all the way in, so don't end up running short. It leaves me adjustment. Got that adjustment and you got this adjustment. So when this is on there, so cut it wrong or cut it too short and you gotta get more rod. This way I make sure I don't get it wrong. So gotta cut it off right there. Now clean that up a little bit. That's why I put the ends on, because you can roll it off. You don't have to try to clean the threads up enough to get it off. But I'll give that a quick clean up and then we'll go try it out. All right, there we go. We've got the clutch rod in, cut down to size. It's mounted up on top. All the bolts are tight in the firewall. And now I got full travel. I can feel it engage right, or disengage right there. I can feel it on the pedal right there. So, should be good. Won't know exactly till I get the car started up. Let out on the clutch, but it feels good. It feels like it's disengaged right there and goes all the way down. So next we do some bleeding of the brakes and that part will be finished up. Gotta bundle those wires back together. I had to get one out of there, so bundle those back up. And they're in my wiper motor. Haven't done that yet. And basically, I think that's about it. Oh, I gotta do my fuel gauge. I have to adjust the ohms on it. It's on the wrong ohms. So I gotta do that. All right. Booyah! Booyah number 2. Booyah number 3. My tech tip. You're doing all that woodwork, save the sawdust. It works great to clean up messes. Doesn't matter what you seem to use to catch this stuff, it always seems to tip over and make a damn mess. So keep all your sawdust and you can clean up the mess from oil and brake fluid and transmission fluid. And you already have it. It's free. Instead of throwing it away. Booyah! Number 4. They are all bled. Pull that off there and drain it down before I spill it again. Which I'll probably spill it again anyway. Revenge of the brake fluid. Put my little cap on. Another little thing I do. You can't find somebody to help you do bleeding brakes. Make yourself a piece of wood. Put your seat in. Pump the pedal. Get your board in there. I gotta do this all the time. Pump it up and put your brake on the rod and push it in the seat. It works. So I've thought about buying some of those power bleeder things, but shit, I've been doing this way for years. Because usually nobody's around when you want to do brake bleeding. So I just started using a board and it works great. All right, brakes are bled. On to the next thing. I am going to start doing the lid on my console now. I got cardboard down. Everything's marked out to where it goes for the cup holders and the shifter and all that. I got packing tape over the top. And I am going to apply a parting wax on this. It comes off easier. Not really necessary on packing tape. Fiberglass really doesn't like to stick to plastic, but this will still help it come off easier. Don't have to fight with it so much. Just put a coat of this on there. And it's ready to make the fiberglass top. Just like that, that's it. Very easy little job there. All right, now the stuff is all cured up. Just kind of wipe it off a little bit. Doing it to be great. Wipe it off a bit. Some sort of waxy substance. That's it. That is ready to go. So now I will take and make up my resin and I will start doing some sheets on here. Get this part done. Got resin all mixed up here. Take it, glob some on here. Best to get it on there quick. You only got basically 5 to 10 minutes working time before this stuff starts to gel up. Depending on temperature and how much catalyst you use. The catalyst is just like Bondo, basically the same thing. It makes it harden for a specific amount of time. You use too much, it'll go too fast. Use too little, it'll take too long to dry. light coat on the working surface so you don't have to try to work it through. We got a dripper over here. Grab the piece, decide to put the stuff on, flip it down. Pretty cool stuff. Learn how to work with it. You can do a lot of cool things with fiberglass. And if you want to, you can replicate what you made. Make it into a mold. Make the same thing quite a few times. I got a Mustang body kit that I built for the 69 and 70 Mustangs. And people just love it. Kind of adds a little modern touch to the old Mustangs. One of these days we'll get to building one of those. Got a whole stockpile of them. All right. All right, good. Now, another one. Get starting to change colors. Starting to cure. Gives you a little warning. I've already got the other one sitting there waiting. I was going to do put the catalyst in it. All right, got my next batch ready here. Getting down here fast. Grab this one here. Got one go for the back. Grab the front. Like that. Oosh. Doing this stuff, it's one of those things, once you start, you cannot stop until you're done. You stop it and try to start again later on, it won't look good. It'll make you more work. You kind of got to start it before you can finish it. If I were to have to stop this, I would stop at the next layer. One layer would not be enough. It'll start to curl up. You'll have air pockets and stuff in it. All right. Next. Takes a lot of resin. I'll take this. Back up here. Start getting into layers, you gotta watch out because you don't want to pick it back up. Pick it up. You'll get air bubbles in a lower layer. Globbing on a bunch of resin doesn't help fiberglass, it hurts fiberglass. You only need enough resin to soak fiberglass. There is zero strength to resin. All the strength comes from the glass. So you only need to get enough on there to do the job. So when you're building up layers, you can get a little more resin on there so it soaks up into the bottom of your next one. When I get to my third layer here, then I'll take and roll it, push the air out. Hold off on that one, pick up another one, my next one. To the back again. Roll it. When you got a seam like this, it's always good to stagger it. Don't pile them on top of each other because you'll have a big build in that spot. Stack your with a little offset. You know, some people say to tear it, but I don't tear it. There's other ones, I'll take it and tear it up in little tiny squares and round circles, and I'll put it on a little piece at a time. That makes a pretty easy job, a lot of work. Pull it off the roll and put it on just as it comes off the roll. But everybody's got their own little way of doing stuff. This is mine. All right. Now, grab my roller here. Roll this out a little bit. Just a fiberglass roller. Oh, I don't want to touch it. Let me get. This will push out most of your air bubbles. Not really worried about getting them all out. It's a console. not a body part. Get 90% of the big ones out, you'll be fine. Just want to make sure on your edge where you're going to cut it at, because this is going to be cut off. I don't waste the resin trying to get resin on an area that's going to be cut off. Just want to make sure you got full penetration of your resin in the cut off area. Then when I'm done with it, I stick in a little bit of lacquer thinner and let it sit in it. All right, last build right here. It's changing color already. All right. Here's all of it. Oh well. Whoa. Good smelly stuff. All right, one more. All right, my last little piece here. All right, I'm going to run out by one tiny bit. Yep, I need a tiny bit more. It's on here. I've tried using the PVC board, use the ABS, all the different things they make for this. Fiberglass is the easiest and the strongest. You don't have to shape the fiberglass. It goes to the way you want it. The other stuff you gotta try to shape it. There we go. A little lower here. A little bit of tiny lacquer thinner on it. Nothing will stick to it. If you put it on there dry, it'll stick to it. It'll roll the fiberglass right up. A tiny bit of lacquer thinner on it before you start. It won't roll up anything. It's not enough lacquer thinner to hurt anything. There it is. All done. Let that cure up. Take it off there tomorrow and cut the edges up. The next day, this has had time to sit here and cure out. So next thing will be to peel it off there. And what I'll do, and move this out of the way here. Feel that. If you do have a fiberglass project, you take these chip brushes and you trim them down about halfway like that, because you want the brush to be able to poke into that chop mat. Works real good when you cut them down. They work better. You leave them long, you can't poke at them very good. But if you just get done with it, get some of the resin out and let it sit in lacquer thinner, you can use the same brush instead of throwing them away. It might only be 75 cents a piece, but you use 5 or 10 of them, that ends up being quite a bit of money. It's easier just to clean them. Let it sit there. But what we do now, roll this over. And you see underneath, I will make a mark on that and then pop it off so I know exactly the size of my console. As long as you don't take the console apart again, it should fit on there pretty good. And then you can trim the sides because you'll have to make this fit down inside. And then depending on how you're doing it, I'll put it in there, get it to the thickness of the leather and just trim this back until I can slide it down inside, and just the pressure will hold it. But that's what we'll do now is pop that off there. Get ready for the next part. So we'll have to figure out where the back of the lid is and cut this here, and figure out where the front is and cut it there. This is where my shifter hole is, and my cup holders, which is marked by the cardboard holes. So all I do is transfer that over and cut those out. But yeah, get this part done next. Grab my Sharpie and just go along the inside here and mark this out. Just kind of leave it long. You're trimming it. And you can kind of size it down. That is ready to come off there. Now I'm going to peel this back from all the tape on the console. I could just hack the top off, leave me a little space, and then cut it that way. But doing it this way, you already got it marked. Just peel all the tape off, everything will come with it. You don't have to go through, kind of cuts out a little step, getting it. It's already loose. All loose. Flip it over. Get it all peeled off this side too. Tape. Just like that. Now that's perfectly marked on where I gotta cut it. So now we'll trim this down. That'll be ready to go back together and start trimming everything to fit. I cut fiberglass. I use a cut-off wheel. It's It's a cleaner cut, it's faster. If you try to use a sawzall or something, you'll go through a bunch of blades. But the cutoff wheel works the best, and old welding coat and some old welding gloves to keep it off you so you're not all scratchy. But so what I'll do now is I'll cut this clean and we'll get it fitting on to the console. Now we got it all cut down. Get this cardboard off here. This will be a little sticky. I don't use styrene. I don't use wax in my fiberglass. I let it cure out. When you use wax in it, you gotta be sure to sand it. You gotta be sure to sand it really good before you apply anything to it. So you just let it set a little longer. It takes a little longer for it to dry all the way to cure out, but that's the way I've been doing it. I did it a couple of times with the wax and had a few problems with it, so I just stopped using it. But the stuff you buy at the hardware store has wax in it. I'm not sure about all of them, but most of them have wax in the resin. So you gotta watch out for that. But now I'll cut out the holes I marked before I peeled it off. I'll cut those out, get them ready, and let it sit and cure out the rest of the way. It'll probably take an hour for the side to get rid of the stickiness. I mean, it's just a tiny bit, like a piece of masking tape, basically. But that'll cure out pretty fast. Then we can finish that part up. And there is the mocked up console. Everything's cut now. Fits in there good. Cup holders in there. Back's in here. Cup holder in the back. AC vents. Now the next part will be make the mounts for this so it's mounted up. And the very last thing to do is fit the lid. But the console is in here with bolts. So it's in its spot. Bolt there, bolt here. So it's right in its right location. But everything works. Nice clearance on everything. So now the next part is to finish up the console. There she is, successful movement on its own. Now I can do a alignment on the front with the chassis, let all the suspension settle out, and just about ready to hit the road.